Welcome to our channel. Let us talk about EU. European Union, EU, international organization comprising 27 European countries and governing common economic, social, and security policies. Originally confined to Western Europe, the EU undertook a robust expansion into Central and Eastern Europe in the early 21st century. The EU's members are Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, the Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, and Sweden. The United Kingdom, which had been a founding member of the EU, left the organization in 2020. The EU was created by the Maastricht Treaty, which entered into force on November 1, 1993. The treaty was designed to enhance European political and economic integration by creating a single currency, the euro, a unified foreign and security policy, and common citizenship rights, and by advancing cooperation in the areas of immigration, asylum, and judicial affairs. The EU was awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace in 2012, in recognition of the organization's efforts to promote peace and democracy in Europe. The European Union, EU, is a political and economic alliance of 27 countries. The EU promotes democratic values in its member nations and is one of the world's most powerful trade blocs. 19 of the countries share the euro as their official currency. The EU grew out of a desire to strengthen economic and political cooperation throughout the continent of Europe in the wake of World War II. The EU's gross domestic product, GDP, totaled $14.45 trillion in 2021. That's about $15.49 trillion. The GDP of the US for the same period was about $23 trillion. The European Union was created to bind the nations of Europe closer together for the economic, social, and security welfare of all. It is one of several efforts after World War II to bind together the nations of Europe into a single entity. The European Union, EU, is an economic and political union of 27 countries. It operates an internal, or single, market which allows free movement of goods, capital, services, and people between member states. The EU countries are Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Republic of Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, and Sweden. The European Economic Area, the EEA, includes EU countries and also Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway. It allows them to be part of the EU's single market. Switzerland is not an EU or EEA member but is part of the single market. This means Swiss nationals have the same rights to live and work in the UK as other EEA nationals. The Netherlands is one of the 27 member states of the European Union, EU. We work with our fellow member states to ensure a strong union. EU member states can join forces in a wide variety of areas, including trade, security, agriculture and fisheries, and the environment and climate. The Netherlands influences EU policy in all these areas. The European Union, EU, is a supranational political and economic union of 27 member states that are located primarily in Europe. The Union has a total area of 4,233,255 square kilometers, 1,634,469 square miles, and an estimated total population of over 448 million. The EU has often been described as a sui generis political entity, without precedent or comparison, combining the characteristics of both a federation and a confederation. Containing 5.8% of the world population in 2020, the EU generated a nominal gross domestic product, GDP, of around $16.6 trillion in 2022, constituting approximately 1/6 of global nominal GDP and the third biggest global economy after the United States and China. Additionally, All EU states except Bulgaria have a very high Human Development Index according to the United Nations Development Programme. Its cornerstone, the Customs Union, paved the way to establishing an internal single market based on standardized legal framework and legislation that applies in all member states in those matters, and only those matters, where the states have agreed to act as one. EU policies aim to ensure the free movement of people, goods, services, and capital within the internal market, enact legislation in justice and home affairs, and maintain common policies on trade, agriculture, fisheries, and regional development. Passport controls have been abolished for travel within the Schengen area. The Eurozone is a group composed of the 20 EU member states that have fully implemented the economic and monetary union and use the euro currency. Through the common foreign and security policy, the Union has developed a role in external relations and defense. It maintains permanent diplomatic missions throughout the world and represents itself at the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, the G7 and the G20. Due to its global influence, the European Union has been described by some scholars as an emerging superpower. The Union was established along with its citizenship when the Maastricht Treaty came into force in 1993, and was subsequently incorporated as an international law juridical person upon entry into force of the Treaty of Lisbon in 2009, but its beginnings may be traced to its earliest predecessors incorporated primarily by a group of founding states known as the Inner Six: Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and West Germany, at the start of modern institutional East European integration in 1948 and onwards, namely to the Western Union, WEU, 1954, renamed Western European Union WEU, the International Authority for the Ruhr, IAR, the European Coal and Steel Community, ECSC, the European Economic Community, EEC, 1993 renamed European Community, EC, and the European Atomic Energy Community, Euratom, established, respectively, by the 1948 Treaty of Brussels, the 1948 London Six Power Conference, the 1951 Treaty of Paris, the 1957 Treaty of Rome and the 1957 Euratom Treaty. These increasingly amalgamated bodies, later known collectively as the European Communities, have grown since, along with their legal successor, the EU, both in size through accessions of further 21 states as well as in power through acquisitions of various policy areas to their remit by the virtue of the above-mentioned treaties, as well as numerous other ones, such as the modified Brussels Treaty, the Merger Treaty, the Single European Act, the Treaty of Amsterdam and the Treaty of Nice. In 2012, the EU was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. After the creation by 6 states, 22 other states joined the Union in 1973 to 2013. The United Kingdom became the only member state to leave the EU in 2020, 10 countries are aspiring or negotiating to join it. The EU traces its roots to the European Coal and Steel Community, which was founded in 1950 and had just 6 members: Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. It became the European Economic Community in 1957 under the Treaty of Rome and subsequently was renamed the European Community, EC. This served to deepen the integration of the member nations' foreign, security, and internal affairs policies. The EU established a common market the same year to promote the free movement of goods, services, people, and capital across its internal borders. The EC initially focused on a common agricultural policy and the elimination of customs barriers. Denmark, Ireland, and the UK joined in 1973 in the first wave of expansion. Direct elections to the European Parliament began in 1979. In 2002, Euro banknotes and coins replaced national currencies in 12 of the member states. Since then, the Eurozone has increased to encompass 20 countries. The euro currency became the second largest reserve currency in the world. In 2004, the EU saw its biggest enlargement to date when Cyprus, the Czech Republic, Estonia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Malta, Poland, Slovakia, and Slovenia joined the Union. In 2007, Bulgaria and Romania became EU members. Later that year, Slovenia adopted the euro, followed by Cyprus and Malta in 2008, Slovakia in 2009, Estonia in 2011, Latvia in 2014, and Lithuania in 2015. In 2012, the EU received the Nobel Peace Prize for having contributed to the advancement of peace and reconciliation, democracy, and human rights in Europe. 51-52 in 2013, Croatia became the 28th EU member. The European Union has 7 principal decision-making bodies, its institutions: the European Parliament, the European Council, the Council of the European Union, the European Commission, the Court of Justice of the European Union, the European Central Bank and the European Court of Auditors. Competence in scrutinizing and amending legislation is shared between the Council of the European Union and the European Parliament, while executive tasks are performed by the European Commission and in a limited capacity by the European Council, not to be confused with the aforementioned Council of the European Union. The monetary policy of the Eurozone is determined by the European Central Bank. The interpretation and the application of EU law and the treaties are ensured by the Court of Justice of the European Union. The EU budget is scrutinized by the European Court of Auditors. There are also a number of ancillary bodies which advise the EU or operate in a specific area. The European Union executive branch is organized as a directorial system, where the executive power is jointly exercised by several people. The executive branch consists of the European Council and European Commission. Through successive enlargements, the European Union has grown from the 6 founding states, Belgium, France, West Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, to 27 members. Countries accede to the Union by becoming a party to the founding treaties, thereby subjecting themselves to the privileges and obligations of EU membership. To become a member, a country must meet the Copenhagen criteria, defined at the 1993 meeting of the European Council in Copenhagen. These require a stable democracy that respects human rights and the rule of law, a functioning market economy, and the acceptance of the obligations of membership, including EU law. Evaluation of a country's fulfillment of the criteria is the responsibility of the European Council. The 4 countries forming the European Free Trade Association, EFTA, are not EU members, but have partly committed to the EU's economy and regulations: Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, which are a part of the single market through the European Economic Area, and Switzerland, which has similar ties through bilateral treaties. The relationships of the European microstates, Andorra, Monaco, San Marino, and Vatican City, include the use of the euro and other areas of cooperation. The Schengen area is an area comprising 27 European countries that have officially abolished all passport and all other types of border control at their mutual borders. Being an element within the wider area of freedom, security, and justice policy of the EU, it mostly functions as a single jurisdiction under a common visa policy for international travel purposes. The area is named after the 1985 Schengen Agreement and the 1990 Schengen Convention, both signed in Schengen, Luxembourg. Of the 27 EU member states, 23 participate in the Schengen area. Of the 4 EU members that are not part of the Schengen area, 3, Bulgaria, Cyprus, and Romania, are legally obligated to join the area in the future. Ireland maintains an opt-out, and instead operates its own visa policy. The 4 European Free Trade Association, EFTA, member states, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland, are not members of the EU, but have signed agreements in association with the Schengen Agreement. Also, 3 European microstates, Monaco, San Marino, and the Vatican City, maintain open borders for passenger traffic with their neighbors, and are therefore considered de facto members of the Schengen area due to the practical impossibility of traveling to or from them without transiting through at least one Schengen member country. There are 8 countries that are recognized as candidates for membership: Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Moldova, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Serbia, Turkey and Ukraine. Norway, Switzerland, and Iceland have submitted membership applications in the past, but subsequently frozen or withdrawn them. Additionally, Georgia and Kosovo are officially recognized as potential candidates, and have submitted membership applications. Former members. Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty provides the basis for a member to leave the EU. 2 territories have left the Union: Greenland, an autonomous province of Denmark, withdrew in 1985, the United Kingdom formally invoked Article 50 of the Consolidated Treaty on European Union in 2017, and became the only sovereign state to leave when it withdrew from the EU in 2020. The EU's member states cover an area of 4,233,262 square kilometers, 1,634,472 square miles, and therefore a large part of the European continent. The EU's highest peak is Mont Blanc in the Grayan Alps, 4,810.45 meters, 15,782 feet, above sea level. The lowest points in the EU are Lammerfjorden, Denmark, and Zuidplaspolder, Netherlands, at 7 meters 23 feet below sea level. The landscape, climate, and economy of the EU are influenced by its coastline, which is 65,993 kilometers, 41,006 miles, long. In addition to national territories in Europe, there are 32 special territories of members of the European Economic Area, not all of which are part of the EU. The largest by area is Greenland, which is not part of the EU but whose citizens are EU citizens, while the largest by population are the Canary Islands off Africa, which are part of the EU and the Schengen area. French Guiana in South America is part of the EU and the Eurozone, as is Mayotte, north of Madagascar. The euro is the official currency in 20 member states of the EU. The creation of a European single currency became an official objective of the European Economic Community in 1969. In 1992, having negotiated the structure and procedures of a currency union, the member states signed the Maastricht Treaty and were legally bound to fulfill the agreed-on rules, including the convergence criteria, if they wanted to join the monetary union. The states wanting to participate had first to join the European exchange rate mechanism. In 1999, the currency union started to materialize through introducing a common accounting, virtual, currency in 11 of the member states. In 2002, it was turned into a fully fledged convertible currency, when euro notes and coins were issued, while the phase-out of national currencies in the Eurozone, consisting by then of 12 member states, was initiated. The Eurozone, constituted by the EU member states which have adopted the euro, has since grown to 20 countries. The 20 EU member states known collectively as the Eurozone have fully implemented the currency union by superseding their national currencies with the euro. The currency union represents 345 million EU citizens. The euro is the second largest reserve currency as well as the second most traded currency in the world after the United States dollar. Air transportation is organized under the TEN-T by the Trans-European Airport Network. European airports are categorized as international, community, or regional. The Charles de Gaulle Airport is the busiest in the EU, located in and near the city of Paris, in France. Rail transportation is organized under the TEN-T by the Trans-European Rail Network, made up of the high-speed rail network and the conventional rail network. The Gare du Nord railway station is the busiest in the EU, located in and near the city of Paris, in France. Mobile communication roaming charges are abolished throughout the EU, Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway. The European Union Agency for the Space Programme, EUSPA, headquartered in Prague, Czech Republic, was established in 2021 to manage the European Union space program in order to implement the pre-existing European space policy, established on May 22, 2007 between the EU and the European Space Agency, ESA, known collectively as the European Space Council. Galileo is a global navigation satellite system, GNSS, that went live in 2016, created by the EU through the ESA, operated by the EUSPA, with 2 ground operations centers in Fusano, Italy, and Oberpfaffenhofen, Germany. The free movement of persons means that EU citizens can move freely between member states to live, work, study or retire in another country. This required the lowering of administrative formalities and recognition of professional qualifications of other states. The EU has also sought to coordinate the social security and health systems of member states to facilitate individuals exercising free movement rights and to ensure they maintain their ability to access social security and health services in other member states. Since 2019 there has been a European Commissioner for Equality, and the European Institute for Gender Equality has existed since 2007. The EU contains about 40 urban areas with populations of over 1 million. With a population of over 13 million, Paris is the largest metropolitan area and the only megacity in the EU. Paris is followed by Madrid, Barcelona, Berlin, the Ruhr, Milan, and Rome, all with a metropolitan population of over 4 million. The EU has 24 official languages: Bulgarian, Croatian, Czech, Danish, Dutch, English, Estonian, Finnish, French, German, Greek, Hungarian, Italian, Irish, Latvian, Lithuanian, Maltese, Polish, Portuguese, Romanian, Slovak, Slovene, Spanish, and Swedish. Important documents, such as legislation, are translated into every official language, and the European Parliament provides translation for documents and plenary sessions. Most EU institutions use only a handful of working languages. The European Commission conducts its internal business in 3 procedural languages: English, French, and German. The Court of Justice uses French as the working language, and the European Central Bank conducts its business primarily in English. Even though language policy is the responsibility of member states, EU institutions promote multilingualism among its citizens. The most widely spoken language in the EU is English. The language is spoken by 44% of the population, 2016 data, and studied by 95% of school students, although following the withdrawal of the United Kingdom less than 1% of the population speak it natively. German and French are spoken by 36% and 30% of the population. More than half, 56%, of EU citizens are able to engage in a conversation in a language other than their mother tongue. Sport is mainly the responsibility of the member states or other international organizations, rather than of the EU. There are some EU policies that have affected sport, such as the free movement of workers, which was at the core of the Bosman ruling that prohibited national football leagues from imposing quotas on foreign players with EU member state citizenship. The Treaty of Lisbon requires any application of economic rules to take into account the specific nature of sport and its structures based on voluntary activity. This followed lobbying by governing organizations such as the International Olympic Committee and FIFA, due to objections over the application of free market principles to sport, which led to an increasing gap between rich and poor clubs. The EU does fund a program for Israeli, Jordanian, Irish, and British football coaches, as part of the Football for Peace project. Cultural cooperation between member states has been an interest of the European Union since its inclusion as a community competency in the Maastricht Treaty. Actions taken in the cultural area by the EU include the Culture 2007 year programme, the European Cultural Month event, and orchestras such as the European Union Youth Orchestra. The European Capital of Culture program selects one or more cities in every year to assist the cultural development of that city. The flag of Europe consists of a circle of 12 golden stars on a blue background. Originally designed in 1955 for the Council of Europe, the flag was adopted by the European Communities, the predecessors of the present European Union, in 1986. The majority of media in the European Union are national-orientated, although some EU-wide media focusing on European affairs have emerged since the early 1990s, such as Euronews, Eurosport, EU Observer, Euractiv, or Politico Europe. The media program of the European Union has supported the European popular film and audiovisual industries since 1991. It provides support for the development, promotion, and distribution of European works within Europe and beyond. That's EU for you. Thank you for watching.